Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me in another video. So as you can tell based on the title, well, Jonathan Anderson is leaving Loewe. This is not going to be a surprise to a lot of people. We've talked about this on the channel several months ago, but these past few days have been quite a whirlwind when it comes to announcements. Demna is leaving Balenciaga to go to Gucci. We just talked about that. Donatella stepping down from Versace, and Dario Vitale from Miu Miu is going to lead the brand. Simone Bellotti is joining Jill Sander. A lot has happened in the past 6 days, and now it has been announced that Jonathan Anderson is leaving Loewe. So it is the end of an era. Jonathan Anderson was at the brand for 11 years, and he really made it one of the hottest brands of the past few years. And while LVMH doesn't release official numbers, I was reading in Vogue, quote, under Anderson's tenure, sales went from 230 million in 2014 to 1.07 billion in 2024, according to Morgan Stanley estimates. So that is quite incredible. But I thought for today's video, we would just take a look at his career, we take a look at his tenure at Loewe, as well as his handbags. Just a little bit about him. Jonathan Anderson is a designer from North Ireland. He, at a very young age, actually wanted to become an actor. He moved to New York, but then from that, he developed an interest in costume design. So he moved back to Dublin, worked at the department store Brown Thomas, and from there went to London to study at the London College of Fashion. And after that, he began working as a visual merchandiser for Prada, and then in 2008, he launched his own brand, J.W. Anderson. In 2010, he was sponsored by the British Fashion Council and produced his first catwalk collection for London Fashion Week. And then in 2012, he collaborated with Topshop, and due to its success, he continued the collaboration in 2013. He also worked on Versace's diffusion line Versus, and then in 2013, LVMH invested in his own brand, and then he was appointed to become the creative director for the Spanish house Loewe. From here, he really built Loewe up. Again, it wasn't really a brand that a lot of people were talking about at the time. His time there was really a masterclass in terms of how he reinvented the brand. He took this heritage Spanish leather house and turned it to one of the most avant-garde yet commercially successful brands of our time. If we just take a look at his various eras at Loewe, how it evolved, and we'll also talk about handbags. So I would say his earlier days, his first collections in 2015 to 2016, we really saw how Jonathan Anderson would bring this experimental shift to the brand. His first collections broke away from the past, introducing deconstructed silhouettes, unexpected textures, and asymmetry. He revamped the logo, the packaging, embracing this modern artisanal aesthetic while still honoring Loewe's Spanish leather legacy. His first collection, spring 2015 menswear, we saw these very asymmetric necklines, very geometric. Also during that time, we saw this bold blocking effect as well as optical pattern effects. For women's spring 2015, we had more of these fragmented silhouettes, geometric patterns, geometric bags, and this first women's collection was where we saw the introduction of the puzzle bag. It has this origami hexatronal shape, and it was instantly a huge success. Not only was it a really unique shape and it had this really interesting geometric silhouette, but it was also incredibly practical. Of course, there were times where they tried to change aspects of the design, but I think a lot of people really loved the original puzzle bag over the puzzle fold, just due to, I think, that kind of origami shape. And I also think this bag really set the tone for Jonathan Anderson's style, what he would bring to the brand, these fragmented geometric shapes, the bold colors, the blocking of colors. We would continue to see that at Loewe, and he also brought a very whimsical side to the brand, and I also think a very whimsical side to the menswear. Even just looking at his bags, not only did it gain popularity with a lot of women, but a lot of men loved Jonathan Anderson's handbags, his creations. If we look at spring 2016, this Hammock bag, another great representation of Jonathan Anderson's style for the brand. Just this understanding and appreciation for this brand being a leather house. Yes, there was that fashion element that helped build the world, but the handbags were always so good. And then I would say from like 2017 to 2019, we really saw this artisanal period where craft would start to blend with surrealism. Craftsmanship really took center stage with collaborations with various artists. This is an ongoing theme with Jonathan Anderson's Loewe, his continual collaborations with artists and how these collaborations could translate into really incredible fashion. We saw surrealism and sculptural elements. They started to become more prominent. Leather garments were twisted and folded and manipulated to create unexpected shapes. Also, look at this cat bag from the fall 2017 collection. For spring 2018, the men's collection was shot at Spanish surrealist Salvador Dali's home. Also, these shoes for the spring-summer 2018 collection. This cute little bunny bag that we would continuously see at Loewe. How he would bring new iterations of the puzzle bag. Look at this deck of cards version of the puzzle bag. Here we have this dress with this undone bra and fur trim. And during this period, Loewe also started the Craft Prize held at the Design Museum in London. When looking at the spring 2019 collection, some of these looks, they look more like works of craft. Look at some of these woven basket bags. They're full of texture and there is this human element, this human touch. We also saw how the gate and the hammock became really prominent accessories during this period. There was sort of this pushing of collaborations with William Morris to Ibiza-based Paula's Archive. For fall 2019, the menswear, the backdrop was this cloth sculpture by Franz Erhard Walther, who is known for his fabric objects that encourage the viewer to participate, emphasizing the body as this tool for artistic expression. And you see how the clothing, it's wrapped around the model's bodies in unique ways. We've got these elongated sleeves. And when I look at this isn't necessarily fashion that is focused on wearability. It's more so about the not just artistic expression, but I also think it's proximity to the art world versus, say, you know, if I think a brand like Kate, she's going to offer a wide range of jeans in various cuts, fits, washes, or a wide range of knitwear sweaters, cardigans, v-necks, crew necks, cropped, to more experimental knitwear and pieces as well. But there's always going to be a priority and offering on how something fits you versus where I think Loewe, it's not about how to have the most complementary fit, but rather having fashion that acts more like a museum piece. Also, what we saw at Loewe were basket bags, which were such a commercial hit. I think in the realm of basket bags, he really innovated in terms of various styles, shapes, as well as a great range in terms of price. And Sarah Mower said this when describing his work and his handbags, stating, quote, "Of course Loewe is a bag show, and this time one of superb variety. Anderson used the word, quote, totemic to describe them, and yes, you could kind of see what he meant. The idea of a bag, be it fringed leather, crocheted raffia, canvas, or basketry, playing the role of a treasured portable art object, signifying belonging to the tribe of the refined and discreetly wealthy." Now, from 2020 to 2022, I think there was also a move towards interesting runway collections as well as this playfulness. During this period, Jonathan Anderson really leaned into whimsical pieces, dresses with balloon-like details. For this men's spring-summer 2020 collection, look at this really cute elephant phone case. Even just this collection, there was something very childlike about it. The overalls and the feathers tucked behind the ears. This is something my 4-year-old has done, by the way. Like just putting things behind his ears, just being playful with the objects around him and how they interact with his body. You get that sense at his Loewe. And I also think he took this idea of craft to the next level. One of my favorite collections from his term at Loewe was the spring 2020 collection. He stated that he wanted to, quote, take on a different kind of craft, which is ultimately historical. He looked at 16th and 17th centuries where craft was in the tiniest thing, where you had to rely on precision. And you can see how earlier collections, there was sort of like this like bluntness, this like blockiness about some of his earlier works, which I also think really spoke to fashion at that time. Like that was kind of a style, but you see how he's focusing more so on the precision and the mastery of craft. And this collection just had this real like romantic element to it. It was very beautiful with these 16th, 17th century silhouettes. I think of that famous portrait Las Meninas by Velázquez, one of the most famous paintings of the Spanish Baroque era, with these like pannier hoop dresses of that period, but they were modernized, right? And of course how this look trickled down into fashion in a very commercial way. Remember the like Loewe, the obi belts that a lot of people would wear over their blazers, or a dress had this like same kind of silhouette. You would see how these types of looks on the runway could be translated to something a little bit more mainstream and in a very commercial way. Also, these balloon bags that we saw on that runway were basically more of like this modernized take on the bucket bag, but it had that inflated look. And then if we look at the men's fall 2020 collection, we're also seeing these bubble shapes with these like bubble dresses layered over top of these op art prints and other tops. Also this elephant bag we saw in various iterations, very playful. For women's fall 2020, more exaggerated shapes were felt. Also, how hilarious are these wigs with these dresses? Here we have the flamenco bag, another very beloved bag by the brand. Then for spring 2021, we saw the continuation of various volumes. For this collection, it was the start of the pandemic, so there were no models, but the themes around craft and themes around the handcraft, the handmade, that personal touch were still felt in this collection, even if there was an absence of models. And then for fall 2021, we saw a lot of bright colors. We've heard this term dopamine dressing, but this was during the height of the pandemic, where a lot of these bright colors were used in this very therapeutic way. For this collection, Jonathan Anderson said, "As much as people always see the cynical in luxury fashion, there's always something in it that releases endorphins that make you feel good." Here we have the Goya bag, which is a very classic shape, but in these bright colors, this bright yellow, this bright blue, it's just very feel good. The Amazona bag, another classic bag for the house in this bright yellow. And then for spring summer 2022, there were these sculpted breastplates, these melted looking heels. The embrace of the absurd became social media sensations. The way Jonathan Anderson was able to blend viral fashion with craftsmanship really made him stand out. Also love these rose heels. Remember Rihanna's Super Bowl look? This collection we also saw the cube bag. For fall winter 2022, we saw this continued theme of surrealism with the balloon dresses, the balloon shoes, the balloon jacket. Rather than fashion wanting to reflect reality, it's almost like this irrationality. We see the work of surrealist artist Merritt Oppenheim being referenced with the use of fur. This is fashion that hits on social media, but then it also appeals to, I think, the gallery girl or the gallery guy, person that's like a real like art enthusiast. And if we move towards this current era that we are seeing, I think there is sort of this taking of craft and really elevating it. There's more of this continued refinement and elevation of it. The surrealism is still present in these collections. We're seeing the melted, the deflated, the oversized forms. These were continued themes, but I think what we saw towards the end of his tenure were more of these organic shapes. The use of the anthurium for spring 2023. Also the organic form of the paseo bag. But he still maintains his interest in these very like blockular shapes. We've got these pixelated shirts and pants. Of course, I think of like how Pharrell has also done this as well, but this also feels very natural coming from the world of Jonathan Anderson. I just can't get over how hilarious these balloon heels are. Even for this fall 2023 look, this very textured look with these feathers that we would see him evolve on in spring 2025. But here we saw the squeeze bag and the pebble bag for this collection. The outline of the puzzled fold tote is also embedded in this leather top. Again, these kind of like more organic shapes with the nest bag. I think Jonathan Anderson really has continued this balance of conceptual fashion, but also being able to create very commercially successful pieces, really great bags and shoes that kind of have these like viral moments online. For fall 2023, we saw the puzzle tote expanding on the puzzle line. Another hilarious bag was this asparagus bag from the fall 2024 collection. And another point I want to also make here is how he uses irony and humor in his fashion to challenge our perceptions of what is quote luxury, blurring the lines between what is absurd and desirable. Like many of Loewe's iconic pieces, they defy functionality. Not all, like I would say the Loewe puzzle bag is quite functional, and if I look at a lot of his handbags, there is sort of a user friendliness with a lot of them. But when you look at the runway pieces and the fashion pieces, look at these knitwear pieces. They're so exaggerated. There's almost this comical nature about them. On Twitter or X or whatever it's called nowadays, someone had posted how this tomato looks very Loewe, and then Jonathan Anderson responded by creating a clutch. So he takes this idea, this meme, this hilarious meme is turned into reality. Another viral moment was when he launched the Loewe I Told You t-shirt, so inspired by Zendaya's character in the Challengers film, which he did the costumes for. He's also done costumes for the film Queer. So he's collaborating in so many different areas, be it in film, be it in the art world, be it in the design world. He's collaborated with Studio Ghibli on several collections. And it also needs to be mentioned, he is doing this all while designing for his own brand. And while I think of his work as quite experimental, there is this irony, this humor. I think this is something that we've seen also in another kind of way with Demna's Balenciaga, but I think Jonathan Anderson embraces this contradiction, but makes the serious fashion feel humorous and lighthearted, and also how high luxury is quite absurd. I think luxury fashion at many of these houses, it's almost reached this point of absurdity. So on one side, maybe there's a critique there, but it also reinforces the very industry that he's thriving in. But this is a leather house. It always did remain central to his vision. He constantly reimagined different forms of leather. Like if we look at this latest Madrid bag, very quite organic in shape. One of his last and final pieces that we saw on the runway was the puzzle bag in this soft feather-light version. It's slouchier, smushier, lighter weight. For his final collection, he didn't actually stage a runway show, but he instead had a presentation celebrating his time at the brand. You see some of his greatest works and this emphasis on craft, the tactile nature of leather. As with this collection, he collaborated with the Joseph and Annie Albers Foundation, and they were known for their approach to form and color, especially like how color interacted with each other. You see their works on these various Loewe bags. So Jonathan Anderson had such an incredible tenure at this brand. We saw this application of craftsmanship with this very subversive edge, using traditional techniques with more so experimental designs. We also saw this use of surrealism and playfulness, fashion as an art form that often infused humor and irony. We also saw how these accessories could really capture the culture, like be it the puzzle, various hilarious shoes that he created. With that, we also saw this intellectual side and his constant artistic references, his collaboration with artists, and it really just was this perfect balance of conceptual and commercial. Bold runway moments contrasted with very desirable, luxurious pieces. Jonathan Anderson's Loewe really became this cultural powerhouse. It really merged its heritage as a Spanish leather house with hyper modern designs. It was a brand that I think was able to also have this balance of being relevant for collectors, but also appeal to this younger generation of luxury consumers. So it is sad to see Jonathan Anderson go, and it's going to be an incredibly tough act to follow. But it is said, now this is the rumor part here, but the rumor is that he is likely going to Dior. Again, nothing has been confirmed, but if this is true, it'll be incredible to see what he does at Dior or wherever he's going next. Yeah, that's my video for today. Thank you so much for joining me in another one, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!